21-year-old Cynthia Palacio was a kind-hearted woman and mother to a 2-year-old daughter. She was full of life and loved to dance, laugh, and party. Then tragically, on the 15th of July 2003, the Lubbock community in Texas was shocked to learn that a lifeless and partially clothed body was discovered lying along a country road west of Slayton. DNA evidence was also collected from under her fingernails, blouse, and on a necklace around her neck. It was determined that she was strangled. On the 19th of April 2004, another 21-year-old mother named Linda Carbajal was looking to better her life. She had a young daughter and was looking to stop walking the streets as a form of income and start planning for a brighter future. On the 19th of April 2004, their lifeless body was discovered about 3 miles west of New Deal, Texas, along a country road. She suffered blunt force trauma injuries and had also been strangled. Strangely, both of the women were born in June of 1982, and both cases have been listed for years on the Texas Rangers cold case list. Later in January of 2020, a 56-year-old Lubbock, Texas man named Andy Castillo was arrested and charged with cyber-stalking possibly as many as 100 female real estate agents in 10 different states, including the Waco region. He was held for threatening to indecently assault their children. He would send provocative photographs from cell phone numbers they didn't recognise. He would also send photos of their own children, which he copied from social media pages. The photographs of children were accompanied by descriptions of what the stalker or stalkers would like to do to the children. After his arrest, he has been detained by the McLennan County Jail since. At the time, he consented to submitting a DNA sample, which was later sent to the Department of Public Safety Crime Lab for analysis. It indicated that the DNA found under Palacio's fingernails on her thigh, blouse and necklace were a match for Castillo. Up until his arrest, Andy Castillo hadn't been a suspect or a person of interest. The authorities acknowledge that they now have a much bigger fish on their hands than they first realised. On the 4th of September 2020, he was charged for taking Palacio's life. Fortunately, he was already in jail. Law officials acknowledge the similarities between Palacio and Carbajal's cases. They're now going to use the same DNA identification technique for Carbajal as they did for Palacio. It is hoped that they will then be able to lay additional charges for taking Carbajal's life. Castillo remains in McLennan County Jail in Waco, Texas. The additional charges takes his bond to a total of $1.5 million. At some point, he'll be transported back to Lubbock to stand trial. The confirmation of Castillo's DNA match to the crime scene brings an end to a 17-year-old cold case that has eluded authorities all this time and has brought much needed closure to the Palacio family. In the early morning hours of the 22nd of December 1994, authorities were called to a scene to find the lifeless body of 54-year-old James Richard Harris laying next to his pickup truck. He was found at the entrance of his 1610 Boss Road home of Chickamauga in Georgia. As part of his usual routine, he was known to leave his residence at 5:30 in the morning, carrying large amounts of cash with him. As he got out of his vehicle to close the gate at the end of his driveway, someone ambushed him. He was robbed and his life was taken as he was preparing to leave for work at Miller Industries in Chattanooga, Tennessee. A witness who was driving past his property alerted the authorities. Evidence at the scene was collected. It was believed that Harris put up a struggle and his revolver was recovered at the scene, which was shot twice. One clue that the authorities had was a 1994 composite sketch of the suspect, showing a man in his 20s having a bruise above his left eye, but the case went cold. In 2009, investigators received new information from Crime Stoppers about the identity of a person who possibly took Harris's life. Using the composite drawn, along with a 1996 photo of a man named Robert Allen Mowry, authorities were able to start connecting the dots. The case was one step closer to a resolution, but there's not enough evidence to make an arrest. Through endless interviews, gathering of surveillance over the years, and thousands of tips being received, it was the DNA evidence collected recently that was matched with the DNA collected at the scene that led to an arrest warrant being issued Late Friday night, on the 4th of September 2020, Murray was arrested and charged for taking Harris's life. He was near the Nashville airport in Tennessee when he was taken into custody. It was also discovered that Harris and Murray had worked together at the Miller Industries. There were 300 co-workers at the time. Murray has been held in the Davidson County Jail, and arrangements have been made to transfer him to Walker County to later face court hearings. His bond is set at $250,000. Harris's family have been notified of the arrest and are very pleased that their prayers have been answered, bringing closure to the family. At 11:30 on a Saturday night, on the 10th of March 1990, two teenage girls, aged 17 and 19 years old respectively, were waiting for a train at Beckenham Station. Whilst waiting, they were suddenly ambushed by an offender wearing a balaclava and pointing a handgun. He said to the girls, "Don't move or I'll blow your heads off," before placing them in the headlock and dragging the pair into some bushes. He continued to force them along until they reached a clearing. He told the pair to lay down on their stomachs and ordered them not to look at him. He then ordered the 19-year-old to remove the 17-year-old's pants before indecently assaulting her repeatedly, at one stage putting his gun against her ribs. The offender then pointed his gun at the pair and warned them not to tell anyone what had happened and not to leave the area for 10 minutes. The terrifying ordeal lasted 40 minutes. The crime went unsolved for 3 decades until the now 55-year-old tattooist and grandfather, Michael Boxell, was tracked down in New South Wales after a burglary there provided a crucial DNA match. The Perth attack wasn't his first or last offence. In 1986, he indecently assaulted a 14-year-old girl in Esperance, Western Australia. In September of 1990, only 6 months after the Beckenham crime, he carried out another lewd attack on a woman in Balcatta in Perth. During the court hearing, the older woman of the two victims made a statement to the court in which she said the pair's friendship had subsequently fallen apart after the traumatic event. She said she had continued to carry the guilt because she was helpless to help her friend. She also said that Boxell had been able to carry on with his life while she had been watching her back, feeling scared and insecure. During the court hearing, Boxell wept at several points during the trial and was sentenced to 10 years in prison. He started serving his jail sentence on the 28th of August 2020.